Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into Stalker 2, the long-awaited sequel to one of the most iconic survival horror shooters of all time. After putting some serious hours into the game, I've got a lot to say about both the good and the bad, so grab a seat. Let's go through my pros, cons, and some nitpicks that I've come across in my journey through the zone. First off, let's talk about the graphics. Stalker 2 looks absolutely stunning.
Wow! Beautiful!
Seriously, there's certain locations where if you turn off the HUD, put your gun away, and just take in the scenery, it's almost impossible to tell it's a game and not real life. Not every area looks like that, but when it does, it's a massive win for the game. The detail in the environments really pull you into the world, and the B-roll for this video is actually just going to be all no HUD gameplay from Stalker. It just looks awesome. Now, the atmosphere. It's tricky. As someone who's played all the previous Stalker games, I can say this one definitely has an amazing atmosphere, but it's missing something, a certain something.
I lost something once. I lost something I couldn't live without.
You know what I mean? It feels like the X-ray engine from the old games played a huge role in building that eerie, creepy vibe. And while the atmosphere in Stalker 2 is still fantastic, it's just not as chilling. It's still immersive and intense, but it lacks that spooky, uneasy feeling that older games gave you. When it comes to Stalker 2's gunplay, okay, yeah, edit to me here, this Enderman thing's getting a little old, but fuck it. Gunplay. I'm a big fan. The automatic lean when you aim and approach an obstacle is a small detail, but it makes a big difference. Scopes look fantastic, and fighting other stalkers feels satisfying and tactical, but the mutants, not so much. One major improvement over the previous games is dialogue. In Stalker 2, NPCs can talk outside of cutscenes, which is a huge step forward. It's got that Fallout 4 vibe, where you can actually interact with characters during regular gameplay, making the world feel more alive and immersive. Now, for the difficulty, I'm playing on Stalker difficulty on my first playthrough. It's challenging, but you get so many healing items and ammo that it doesn't really feel all that difficult. In comparison to previous games, not counting the mods, this one feels a little easier, but it's still fun. I'm planning to bump it up to Veteran soon for a more hardcore experience. The AI in Stalker 2 is really good. It's a slight downgrade from previous games, but it's still solid. The biggest difference is that the enemy's survival instincts don't feel as sharp, but still AI opponents will flank you. They'll throw grenades, they'll execute some unpredictable moves, like when bloodsuckers attack from random angles. Overall, the AI works pretty well, but there's a few areas for improvement. When it comes to the map size in Stalker 2, it is massive. It's a huge step up from previous games, with some areas feeling different from what you might expect. Ooh, no, did you hear that? The PDA sound. Honorary mention. For example, the swamp is now on the right of Cordon instead of the left, and Zaton looks smaller than in Call of Pripyat. Although, I do need to explore it more to be sure, but overall, the map is gorgeous and expansive. There's so much to explore, and it really adds to the experience. Alright, so now let's talk about the cons. Let's talk about something that's a bit frustrating, and that is bullet sponges. Why does it take 3 whole mags from a Vepr 5 to kill a bloodsucker? I can understand armor and health making enemies tougher, but the mutants in general feel way too spongy, especially compared to the stalkers you encounter. The dogs are fine, but when you're dealing with bloodsuckers or poltergeists, it just feels like they're absorbing all your ammo. Okay, so let's talk about the economy in Stalker 2, because it needs some work. I did a mission that paid only 1,000 rubles to kill a bandit kingpin, and I thought, okay, this should be easy, but after I fired a shot, 20 stalkers come charging at me, and by the time I looted their bodies, I've spent more money on ammo, grenades, and repairs than I earned from the mission. It's a bit frustrating, and it's moments like these that remind me of playing Misery Mod, where the economy felt unbalanced. So let's talk about the A-Life system now. This is the system, if you don't know, that's supposed to make the world feel more alive. And honestly, it's either just broken or not working as intended. I have had moments where things just pop into existence behind me, and while there are some shootouts in the distance, a lot of areas feel pretty empty. Outside of the scripted spawns, it's either just a bug or a poorly implemented system, and either way, it is a bit of a letdown. The next thing is the stealth AI. It's another issue. Enemies take a long time to notice you when you're sneaking around. Once they do spot you though, you can just duck behind cover, break their line of sight, and then voila, everything's fine. It's like they forget you were there, which is pretty frustrating. It's like, must have been the wind moment we've all had in stealth games.
Must have been the wind.
But it does happen far too often. Here's one that I wasn't sure whether to list as a con or a nitpick, but after some thought, I've got to mention it. Traveling. The map is huge. which is awesome, but moving around it can be a real chore, especially if you're carrying a lot of stuff. You can fast travel, sure, but I really think that we need vehicles or some kind of better fast travel system. The map size combined with the current A-Life implementation just makes it feel like you're stuck in a walking simulator a little bit too much. And after a few hours of trekking, I found myself downing energy drinks just to make the journey less painful. Optimization. Let's be real, it's pretty rough at launch. With a 3070 Ti and a 13900K processor, I'm still struggling to get a stable 120 FPS at 1440p resolution, even with DLSS on. It's not a deal breaker, but it definitely is something to keep in mind if you're planning to play on high-end hardware. I'm hopeful the devs will improve this with patches down the line, but we'll just have to wait and see. Alright, so now onto the nitpicks. First one is gun deterioration. It's a small thing that's bugged me, and it is the gun deterioration. After just one fight, my gun goes from 100% condition to about 90. Repairs get expensive quickly, and I get the idea of wear and tear, but it just feels a little overdone here. The next one is bloodsuckers being literally everywhere. Every third mutant I encounter has to be a bloodsucker, and with how bullet spongy they are, this can get really annoying. They should definitely be rarer, and when you're in the lower zones, you want to fight weaker mutants, not get ambushed by one of the most challenging enemies in the game. The bugs. Yeah, there's a few bugs here and there, like floating mutant heads and that shoot me before their bodies actually show up. It's not game breaking, but it is still a little immersion breaking. Still, it's very early days, so I think these things will get fixed soon. Now the story. I can't speak much to the story yet, but I will say that the bloodsucker encounter in the tutorial felt unnecessary and kind of spoiled the scare factor of the mutants. But then again, I haven't really experienced enough to pass full judgment yet, but listing it here in the nitpicks. So then, what's the verdict? Stalker 2. It is a beautiful, atmospheric game with some fantastic gameplay, but it's not without its flaws. The graphics, gunplay, and improvements in dialogue and AI make it a great experience, but there's definitely some issues with bullet sponginess and economy balance and traveling that hold it back. The bugs and optimization issues are to be expected at launch, but hopefully they will get ironed out in future updates. Have you guys played Stalker 2 yet, and what do you think of it? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let me know if you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.